Hello, I'm Greg Branham, Branham Equipment Sales and Exports Inc. in Markle, Indiana. We are also axle surgeons of Fort Wayne, which covers all of Northeast Indiana. You can find out more at branhamequipment.com. A few years ago, we brought to you a wear band repair process to fix the wear band on the inside of reefer trailers. You can find that video on YouTube if you search Branham Equipment, and it is also on our website as well. Today, what we're going to talk about is landing legs. We have noticed many trailers are extremely difficult to crank up or down depending on which way you're going. And most people think that is a gear problem, and it's not. There's a very easy solution for it, and most people have the tools in their own shop to make these repairs. We're going to go over the process, show you some do's and don'ts, and hopefully save your back next time you got to crank up your landing legs. The process that we're about to show you is to solve the problem of the legs being extremely difficult to raise up or down. If you have to labor to crank those legs in low or high speed, then you have an obvious issue. Now, if it's popping in and out of gear, or there's apparent and physical damage to the legs themselves, then that's a whole other set of issues that you'll need to address. This is for legs that stay in gear and then they will go up and down, just extremely difficult. Now today in Base 1 and Base 2, we have two different brands, 2 different years from 2 different fleets that I want to show you. One that has the problem, one that how to fix the problem, and on the other one shows you some do's and do nots on servicing those legs. For this video, I am assuming that everyone watching it knows how the internal workings of the gear and the legs work. You crank the handle, turns the gears, moves the worm gear, which raises and lowers the leg itself. But we're not going to talk about that. We are talking about the specific problem of what causes the legs to be stressful to crank up and down. Now, over the years, engineers have, to lighten up trucks and trailers and tractor trailers, they have taken material out of certain areas and engineered things in and engineered things out. In this case, they have taken the tube of the leg over the years and made it thinner material. Now, the problem with that is if you just had a thin tube, then when the trucks and the trailers get hooked and connected and disconnected, it causes jarring on the legs, which will essentially bell out the bottom of the tube. Now, to prevent that, what they have done is put a thicker strap at the bottom of the tube that will reinforce and prevent the belling of the tube. Now, that strap is where the problem lies, and I'll get you a little closer and show you what I'm talking about. This is the strap that I had mentioned earlier. As I spoke, they lighten the tubes and install this strap which has thicker material than the tube itself. Now, here again is where the problem lies. Over time, in between that strap and the tube, rust, corrosion will build up, and then as it does, it tends to grow, and when it grows, it can't go out because the strap is thicker than the tube itself, so it wants to go in. It wants to squeeze this internal leg. Now, when it does so, it creates friction. Now, here's the maintenance don't that I was talking about earlier. People assume that it just needs grease, and what they do is they grease the entire lower leg itself, and that's a don't. All that's going to do is jam up grease and grime through the tube, and as it travels down the road, it's going to catch rocks and dirt and debris and just can essentially just jam the leg itself with all unwanted material. So try to avoid lubing the legs. Now, in this case, since they lubed the leg, you can see right here this shiny material. Now, what that's telling me is this thing is rubbing when it goes up and goes down. You can see all the way up the leg. So this has rust and corrosion that has pinched the leg itself, and it has it in 2 places. It has it on the strap, and it has it on this bracket welded to the legs for the bracing. It's done the same thing here, and then on the inside of the legs. So I'll get you even closer and hopefully show you how thick this material can grow, the rust can grow in between these two pieces of metal, and you'll get a better idea of how it squeezes and pinches the internal leg. Here's what it looks like on the top side of that bracket. You can see that it's pretty flush with the tube itself here and here. But then you can stick this small screwdriver in the middle. And hopefully in this video you can see how this is pushed back right in through here. And that's where it starts to squeeze. And then I'll get a straight edge and show you, hopefully, the distance between these two pieces of material. You can see it with the straight edge on there. Unfortunately, it does not do a good job to show how this tube has been collapsed because of the rust. So here it does a little better, but still you can see the rust build up, and you can see that by my screwdriver it fits there and it doesn't there. That right there should be evidence to you enough to show you that it is definitely squeezed this tube right through here. Now I bring this up because this particular model welds this strap on the outside of the leg and connects to the bracing. Now every trailer manufacturer has a different set of landing leg braces, and they're all engineered differently. So not every manufacturer will have this same exact problem. So I just wanted to bring this up with this particular trailer because you can obviously see what I'm talking about, which mirrors what's going on with the strap. Now the strap, as I mentioned earlier, is on every set of landing leg. That's a landing leg manufacturing design. This right here is a trailer manufacturing design. So just keep that in mind, that this bracket won't be on every trailer that you see come through your shop. This is a different view on the same trailer. And I wanted to come back here again because you can see the same areas that have been rubbing due to this tube being squeezed. Now, hopefully you can tell it doesn't always do it on all four sides of this square tube. I'll get you even a little closer here, but right through here is flush with the tube. There's no rubbing on the front side or on the back side of this tube. It's just on the sides themselves. And maybe in this picture, and again I'll get you closer, but you can see the amount of debris, rust, and corrosion that's built up right here, and not so much here. Here's a little closer view yet, and you can see the amount of just pure gunk and rust and debris and corrosion coming out of those legs. Now on this side again, there's none. I mean, there's no rust jacketing, as I like to call it. There's no swelling, there's no pinching on this side, but for some reason it's on this side of the leg, and you can just see how much is in there. And what that's done, again, back to swelling and back to collapsing the tube, it's collapsed the tube, which is why it is scraping and rubbing on this side of the leg as well. Now, the fix for this is extremely easy. I will get the tools out and show you here briefly, but really all you have to do is have a cutting wheel and a hammer, and maybe times just a pick or a chisel of some sort, and then a welder. We will take a cutting wheel, we will cut the strap, we will smack it with a hammer, and then all this corrosion and debris will fall to the ground. You, again, clean out best you can, and then you essentially just weld up the strap. And it's that simple. That will alleviate the stress, and it'll relieve all the rust jacketing that is squeezing this tube and essentially making you labor to raise and lower your landing legs. So I will get the tools and show you how quick and easy this process is, and hopefully it'll help you fix your legs. It's everybody's responsibility to be safe. So I'm about to use the grinder and cut this strap and to relieve the stress and remove the debris. Now, when using any power tools, any shop tools, welders, cutters, torches, please wear proper eyewear, ear protection, and gloves and long sleeve shirts. Now hopefully you heard that, and you hopefully seen that. But if you noticed, as that cut, you see how that, hopefully again, you heard it, it made a pop. And that pop was all the stress and all the rust jacketing in there. And now I'll get a hammer and we will clean this material out and then put a bead of weld. But if you've seen and heard that pop, that was the stress between the tube and the strap, which is essentially squeezing the leg. I will do a little more work on this off camera to save the noise, but just with that little bit of hitting, you can see the amount of rust that has fell to the ground. And then also, hopefully, you can see that gap right there. That gap is where the rust was, which was squeezing the leg. I will clean more of that out on this stage of the process and then move on to the next. While I was off camera, I went ahead and cleaned up right here in preparation for welding. I smacked all the debris out, cleaned this up, and then again prepped this to weld. Now at this point, the problem's solved. All the rust and corrosion, the buildup has been knocked out, cleaned out. We've prepped it, we've squeezed it back, and by squeezing it, we just essentially tap it back in with a hammer after we clean the material out, and then I'll get the welder out and put a bead of weld right there, and that's it. You can squirt some paint on it, but that's all you have to do. You cut the strap, you relieve the pressure, you clean the material, you clean the strap for welding, you weld the strap, you put a little paint on it, and it's done. And you can see on this one side of a four-sided leg how much debris has come out. It's amazing of how much was in that little strap. Here's a shot of the final weld. I'll save you the painting process. As you can imagine, it's pretty easy. So again, this is just to represent the final process. As for these factory brackets that connect to the bracing, they're causing the same issues with rust jacketing. The same thing applies. What we typically do with this, we'll go on the back side and cut the welds loose and then knock the debris out just like we did the straps. And then we will weld it back in place. Or in some cases, we'll make a relief cut right down the center of the bracket, knock the material out that's growing in between the two pieces of metal, and then simply weld it back up. So if you ever run across these brackets that these factories install, that's the way you can address those issues as well. We find this repair takes generally an hour, and that includes cleanup. It's a very easy way to solve a very large problem and hopefully save you from throwing your back out or one of your drivers out on the road. We would like to thank you from everybody at Branham Equipment. We truly work hard and hopefully solving a lot of your problems and making your life easier. I also want to give a special thanks to Mike Roars, a friend of mine who taught me this little trick many years ago and saved me from replacing lots of landing legs. Again, thank you very much. If you have any more questions, you can visit us online at branhamequipment.com. That's BRANHAM equipment, all spelled out, .com. Thank you.